Hey comic book fans, welcome back to the Comic Fix. Now in today's video I got 3 more books to review, starting off with Hell on Earth Superboy issue number 16. The last time we left off in the Hell on Earth crossover was in Superman issue number 15, where Superman went to go to Lex Luthor to figure out how to get into his Fortress of Solitude. Hell has taken over the fortress with Supergirl, and Superman just wants to get back into his fortress. So what does he do? He calls upon the Justice League to help him out. And I loved it in the last part of issue number 15 of Superman, where when the Justice League members all got there, they're like, oh my god, Superman needs our help. This is Superman after all, and he's this god among men, and he needs our help. So it's cool though, because one thing that DC Comics has been doing with the Justice League is that usually when the Justice League, one Justice League member needs help, they call upon it. And I just like that whole aspect of it. It's more of a team and them wanting to help each other out to do the bigger good. Just like what they did with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman in Justice League, I think it was issues 13 to 14. She did not want their help with the cheetah. But of course the Justice League members were like, no, we gotta help you. And it was nice to see that camaraderie come back with Superman. So we have Superman and the Justice League and Superboy going to hit the Fortress of Solitude. And of course it's Superboy, so all this takes place with Superboy's perspective on how everything is going. There's one thing I don't like right off the bat is with Tom DeFalco. He kind of gives us a little synopsis about where everything has been up until this point. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. Just the way it was done here. Usually when you jump into a comic, you should just let the panels do the work for you. And it feels like Tom DeFalco just put in all this info all over the place. And it was a little bit bogged down just the beginning of the comic. And right off the bat, I could tell you that I did not care for Ivan Kalilo's artwork in here. It's clean most of the time, but then there's points in there where he has all these dots all over the place that just really, really freaking bothers me. It's just like, wow, I know that they used to do that in comics back in the Silver Age, but here it's just like, wow, I don't like. Let me just get a picture for you. It's just like, if you look at this one, you see, I hope you guys can see it, but you see all these dots all over the freaking place in the icicles. It's just like, okay, I don't know what that purpose of that is, and you just see it all over the place in this whole entire issue. So I didn't really care for that one, and some of the depictions of that Tom DeFalco did with some of the Justice League characters were not as well done as they could have been, specifically the Flash. There's a point in there where Superboy, he has to go and take down the force field that's around the Fortress of Solitude. Interesting point is when he's trying to take down the force field, he's like, why am I really doing this? I mean, I don't owe these people anything. Well, he kind of owes Superman something, because what happened is that Superboy, his DNA was basically getting torn apart with what Hell did to him. So he had to don the Superman's outfit, armor, which is basically like a cast for his body. But he's just wondering, why the hell am I doing this for these people that I don't know anything to? Well, of course, the goodness in him, he's like, okay, I'm going to do it. And it was just cool, though, to see him destroy the force field. And even Batman was surprised by what Superboy did. It was nice to see the communication between Superboy and Batman in this issue. And it felt more like Batman was Superboy's partner or mentor than Superman's ever been in the New 52. Which, of course, they've only just met just a little bit ago. But it was just interesting seeing the camaraderie between Batman and Superboy. But there's a point in there, after the force field's taken down, that the Flash has to do his job. And he has to go and do some Flash type of things. But the way that it's done is done with the inner dialogue of the Flash, talking about what he's doing and how he's doing the type of stuff he's doing. And the dialogue in those scenes was... It didn't sound natural whatsoever. It was bad writing at that point. And of course the art really didn't do anything for me. So it was just like, there was a lot of misses in this whole entire issue. And Tom DeFalco, he's not the best writer in the world, he's not the worst. But I just feel that he had too much on his plate with having the Justice League members in there. And even for Ivan Khalilo, his artwork definitely did not do the job that it could have been. I mean, I think that this issue was way too big for these two writers and artists. But there was one great point in there where Superman and the Justice League basically get into the Fortress of Solitude, and they're about to go and face against Hell. Well, Superman, he has all these gadgets all over the place and some of the Avengers he's had, and he just has them in his fortress, just like how Batman has all these memorabilias from his adventure times. So there's one where he doesn't know how it works, but it basically beams people into this prison. So all these beams are going all over the place, and Superboy is about to get hit by one of these beams, like being taken to this prison or whatever it is, and Superman pushes him out of the way. He gets hit with the beam and gets sent to this mystery prison. And Superboy sees this, and he goes after Superman. Seeing that character development in that scene was really awesome to see, because Superboy in the whole New 52 has been one of these characters that's very... He wants to do the good things, but he's been doing some evil things. And he has some anger issues. And as Hell explained, that's one of the flaws of a clone of a Kryptonian. They do evil things. So we have some character development happening from Superboy at that point, which was like, wow. And then to know that it would be concluded in the pages of the Superboy annual, which comes out tomorrow. So it was really freaking cool to see that character development. There was a couple pages of Supergirl in there where Hell shows Supergirl of what they're fighting for and how to save Krypton. And those scenes I thought were the best scenes in the whole entire issue. Just between the conversation between Supergirl and Hell showing her a hologram image of Krypton the way that she remembers it. And it was done so well, and you just see the tears coming down her face as she's seeing and remembering all the things that she lost. Because the one thing you gotta understand about Supergirl is that it has not been long since she's been on Earth. And her memories of Krypton is so fresh and vivid to her that it feels natural that she's going to go on Hell's side to try to figure out how to save her planet. And then she sees it being destroyed, and it was just such a heartwarming moment as she gets the embrace of Hell as she sees her world get destroyed. It was so freaking amazing. And that's when I thought the artwork actually and the writing shined the most, was in those couple pages. But I thought that the issue was just too big of a scale for Tom DeFalco and the artists in here. Maybe it would have been better to do this under somebody else's watch, maybe under the watch of Scott Liddell and, I can't remember the artist, but the guy who's doing Superman. But all in all, it was an okay issue. If you're into the Hell on Earth, you're going to definitely be picking up this issue. And if you're not, stay away from it. I'm going to be doing a video on, is DC Comics going away from being new reader friendly with all these crossovers that they're doing? So that's kind of how I'm feeling, because as you guys know, I'm one of the big DC comic guys in all of YouTube, and you guys come to me for your DC comic advice. And I'm wondering, is DC Comics becoming too new reader friendly with all these crossovers that they're doing? Because we got 4 of them going on right now. We have Hell on Earth, Death of the Family, Rise of the Third Army, and Throne of Atlantis with Justice League and Aquaman. And that's over, 10 titles that are in the main flagship titles for DC Comics that have crossovers going on right now. So I'll be doing a video about that. But overall, I'm going to give Superboy issue number 16 a 2 out of 5. And I don't think a 2 out of 5 is bad. It's just middle of the road. I mean, the story was just too big. But there was some good character development that happened in this issue. Next up is Threshold presents The Hunted, issue number 1. The biggest problem I have with this issue is that all this issue has is that it's basically a continuation of what happened in the New Guardians annual number 1. And there's no point in this issue where it basically tells readers, hey, you should read the crappy New Guardians annual to get what's going on at this point to this character, this Green Lantern, and why is he in this bounty game that's happening. So in Threshold, it's supposed to be DC Comics expanding their horizon with the universe of the DC Comics. So we got this basically a C-lister character being thrown in this game where everybody is a bounty hunter. And whoever kills the hunted gets the bounty, gets the money. It is the biggest game in all of the universe. So we got this new character who is a Green Lantern, and he is part of the Hunted games. So he's on the run. He's on the run all the time in this issue from all these different bounty hunters. The artwork in here is freaking good at points. You could definitely tell that Tom Rainey took his time with this issue at certain points. And then there's certain points in the panels where you see where he kind of rushed a little bit. He didn't do as much detail as he could have. But that's to be forgiven because with all the detail he put in all the other panels, especially at the beginning, you definitely tell he was taking his time and he actually really enjoys this project that he is on, which is freaking cool. I actually really did dig the artwork in here. It had this big scope feel to it that some comics do not have. So basically, as a lot of people have said, it feels like a comic called The Runner, I believe it was, where a guy's on the run and that's mostly what's happening. Now, in The Hunted, there are 26 hunted right now. There's 26 bounties out there. And they're all wanting to fight back. And it's interesting concept, which is not really fleshed out in this issue. It feels like they were on just action, just go, 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 go. But they didn't take the time, as much time as they needed, to set up the world around our Green Lantern character. That was the most disappointing part. And you would think with the annual that they had that they would be setting up the world, but no, they did not do that. The annual failed miserably, and it felt like just tacked on, especially after reading this issue, and there was no point where the editor or the writer mentioned the annual in this issue. So if you were just a new reader going on and reading Threshold for the very first time, you would have no clue that in Green Lantern the New Guardians annual number 1, that's basically where everything takes place and how our main character, I can't even remember his name, let's see, what is his name? Judea? How he got in this situation as the Hunted. Which maybe the writer was like, dude, that piece of shit annual, I don't even want it even near my book, so I'm not going to touch it. I'm not even going to mention it. But I really do think this was a fail on DC Comics' part, where that this book has potential to do something pretty cool and have something fresh and new for DC comic readers and any comic book reader, where they'd be like, hey, you want something that's not really in the big Justice League wheelhouse, if you want something new that stuff can actually happen, well, go and read this book. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels almost by the numbers. And with Threshold, I was actually thinking that DC Comics would kind of go into a new direction, into a wider scope, and have these C-list characters doing something amazing and kind of just showcasing them. And I don't know if it's going to do that. I kind of feel that this book may just go off on a whimper. But you never know. There's been some books where issue number 1 has not been all that good, which the series becomes great by the 2nd or 3rd or 4th or 5th issue. So, there was nothing really there for me with the whole Hunted part. But the backup issue with Larfleeze was freaking fantastic. So what happens is Larfleeze notices that the new Guardians have their book of Oa. And he wants the book of the Orange Lanterns. So what does he do? He goes and kidnaps a writer to write his book. And it's just so freaking funny to see the dialogue that happens between this writer and Larfleeze. And how it was just so freaking funny all the way through. There's one interesting point where Larfleeze has his ring basically do something like on Twitter, where if he hears anything in the galaxy about an Orange Lantern on the news or anything, he gets the feeds live right away and he's able to see what people are talking about him. Well, he finds out that another Orange Lantern's out there and he is the only Orange Lantern in the Corps. So he goes to go and investigate who is this Orange Lantern who's blasphemy and doing all this stuff in his name that's just blasphemy. So he goes off and to figure out what the hell's going on, only to find out that that newsfeed never happened. And so he comes back really pissed off. He's like, who's trying to fool Larfleeze? And he comes back to his home planet or his home world and he finds out, oh my god, somebody stole all my stuff. Oh my god. Somebody stole all of Larfleeze's stuff. It was just so amazing. It was just like, why couldn't this have been the whole entire first issue of the Threshold and just make this a $2.99 book and just have it a 3-issue story arc about Larfleeze? That would have been freaking funny as hell. I don't like it that this book is $3.99. I feel that with a $2.99 book, a reader who doesn't even know anything about the book doesn't feel like they have as much at stake to pick up this book, and if they like it, it's a win-win. But if they don't like it, it's only a $2.99 book. But when they see that $3.99 price tag, they expect the best. It is the highest priced book that there can be. I think that the highest priced books should be only the books that have the best writer and the best artist on there. Like Batman. Even Saga. Saga, I think I would pay $3.99 for those issues, but no. Image is nice enough to be like, okay, this is a $2.99 book, but it's just a book that you know you'll pay $3.99 for. With Threshold, I don't want to pay that $3.99 price tag. I want to pay $2.99 and just get an okay story. Because I would feel better about my purchase if it was a $2.99 story. But since it's a $3.99 story, I expect the best. And what I got out of this first issue was not the best. So I'm going to be giving the Threshold Presents the Hunted issue number 1 a 2 out of 5. But I'm going to be giving Larfleeze just the backup part 4 out of 5, which was freaking funny. But overall, this book, The Hunted, gets a 2 out of 5. But if you guys go and look and pick up this book, just know you're in for a good time with the Larfleeze backup. And the last book for this video is Demon Knights issue number 16. I picked up the first couple issues of Demon Knights back in the when the New 52 started, and then I had to cut some books, and Demon Knights was one of them. Paul Cornell, I think that was the writer for the book. He finally ended his story, and so a new writer comes on, Robert Venditti, and so this book takes place 30 years later after the end of the last story arc, which first, right off the bat, is an awesome idea. So you're going to see some characters 30 years later, and you get the mystery of what happened in those 30 years. So we start out the book with Cain, the first vampire, basically just massacring this town. And if you did not know, Cain is the first vampire in all of DC Comics. And I think that this is the Cain from Cain and Abel. Because there's a point in this issue where Cain is about to suck the blood out of a priest. And the priest has his Bible out and is trying to ward away Cain. And Cain just hits away the Bible and hits away the cross that the priest has over him. And basically tells the priest that he's older than the Bible itself and as old as God. So that'd be really cool, especially with Phantom Stranger, him being Judas, and to have Cain being Cain from Cain and Abel. So some cool little things that DC Comics have been doing with the biblical stuff and having almost biblical bad guys as superheroes. Interesting things, DC Comics. Interesting things. So we have this just setup of the vampires basically about to strike. And so then we get to the points with all our different characters of the Demonites and where they're at this point. And all of them are almost being hunted down by this man who we don't know what his endgame is. And it was interesting though. It was just, this whole entire issue was complete setup for the story arc that Robert Venditti is going to be putting us through. And with this issue, it gave a lot of questions, but some answers with it. And it felt like a fresh new issue number 1, which was quite freaking amazing. This was a great jumping on point for anybody who was interested about this medieval comic book. In this book, I feel that it's giving something that a lot of DC Comics or any comics is not giving us today. If you're looking for that book that's just about the medieval knights and wizards, this is the perfect place to go and get that. I love the artwork in here by Bernard Chang. Awesome, awesome stuff. And this whole entire issue was freaking amazing. Especially my favorite parts was there's this character in there, and basically she's a cripple, but she have a psychic bond with a horse and be able to talk to the horse. Her character moments in this whole entire issue, she basically was the main focal point of this issue, was freaking amazing. This new character who I never have heard of comes in and instantly I love her. I mean, just the way she was written and the relationship she was having with her horse was freaking amazing. And at the end, when they killed the horse, which is like, oh, that's freaking sad. And it was funny though. I read this book right after I read Batman, so I had in me the whole thing where Scott Snyder hates horses. And when I say hate horses, I'm just doing that lighthearted. It's really, really lighthearted. And then to go and read this one where a horse gets his head chopped off. And you're just like, does DC Comics really hate horses? That's what I'm kind of getting into now this week with Batman and Demon Knights. But overall, this is a very interesting book. A lot of intrigue in there. And it's bringing something fresh and new to my comic book reading. I don't really have that medieval comic. And then to read this one, it's just like, yes, this is on my pull list from now on. And it's nice to see that DC Comics is taking a chance with this book still. Unlike what they did with iVampire. This is a good book. Cannot recommend this anymore. I mean, God, this book is so sick. Especially with Cain. I mean, any book with Cain in there is just so freaking awesome. And then to see Cain in the present where what's his name? Where in iVampire, Andrew Bennett took all the evil out of the vampires and took away the vampirism from all the vampires in the whole entire world, and Cain is one of them. So it's just interesting to see how Cain is in the past. Really did dig this issue. So I'm going to be giving Demon Knights issue number 16 a 3.5 out of 5. And I know that this book is going to be getting even better and better and better as it goes on. Because this issue just set up and is a perfect point for any jump on point for any new reader. Go and pick this book up. It's freaking fantastic. Good book. So in my next video, I'm going to be finishing up my DC Comics, and then I'm going to be doing a video talking about, is DC Comics going away for new reader friendly with all these crossovers that they're doing. So stick around. I'll see you guys next time.